we do.
Okay.
Oh, shoot. Let's start over.
No, we're
Because I
good. Go
know.
ahead.
No,
Absolutely.
start over. Because, see, I'm off now. I didn't know you had started recording. Okay, let's start over.
I don't know. So, so we don't have um, RTI in a formal setting in our school, and neither do we have PBIS.
Okay. Well, at our school, we have a tiered level of support that we use. We use the tier one, which is universal for all the students, and we use this acronym called GRIT, and it's based on the school-wide core values. So G
Hmm.
stands for growth mindset. So we embrace our challenges and we learn from our mistakes. And we have these in the hallway and also they're on the walls in the classroom so the kids get to see it. Respect, R is respect. We treat others with kindness and value our differences. I stands for inspire excellence, so we strive to do our best and encourage others to do the same. T stands for teamwork, and we work together to achieve our goals. And we also incorporate the Ron Clark Academy House system. Are you familiar with that?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So, I think it's in Atlanta, and this school uses this, and the kids receive positive rewards, and they use a point system for their respective houses when they meet the school-wide expectations.
Okay.
So, and then there is broken into four houses. So we have the red, blue, green, and black.
Okay.
And then we also use the MTSS model. Do you guys use that? Because I know you're high school.
Mm.
Okay. So with this is a district initiative. So all the students are, they say, quote, have ongoing support in the area of academics, language, and engagement. So behavior would go in under the engagement category. And so this is a proactive approach and it's preventative in nature. And there's a progression between the levels, just like with RTI. And the student is progress monitored, you collect data, and it drives your decision making. It's evidence based, and it's culturally responsive instruction, and it's embedded in the framework. And then after the child is gone through the MTSS process, and if there's still ongoing concerns, then you have the SST meeting. Do you guys have that in high school?
We're not
Okay.
at our school.
Okay, so with the SST, with the student support team, the team members convene, they collect and review the information and the data, they discuss strategies and interventions, and then you have the ongoing progress monitoring, and then the SST committee will meet at a later time, and then they'll formulate a plan for the next steps.
Okay. All right. Now, help me if I'm understanding correctly. The question wants to know, what do we do as a school?
Right.
That is correct.
Yes.
Now, now this is our RTI plan, if you want to call it that,
Okay.
for as a district and as a school. But the actual tenets of it, you really only see it in special education in terms of in our building. But as a school, we don't. All we have is um a redirect. They call it a redirect center, and it's really just a room that they'll take students do to, for the most part, de-escalate them. As you can see here on the screen, these are the tenets of their approach to that. Um, but I've been. This is my second year there, and I'm being honest. I have yet to hear the word RTI mentioned outside of a workshop, and definitely not in any of our PDs or anything that we have in the school, which is a whole nother story for another day. But that's kind of where that is as far as that goes. So, um, obviously it's a work in progress
Yes, sir.
with us. Um, and then like I said, our, in sped, the dynamics are so different. Um, that a lot of times we kind of get isolated. And I'm not saying doing our we get caught a lot between, say, district policy and Fed or state policy. And then it's the sentiment of our leadership that overrides a lot of stuff that we do or even try to do. So I mean I don't know where a happy medium for that is. However, I just know um it's tough when you're trying to implement stuff, or even like when we have discussions in class, around this subject. It's kind of tough because some of the stuff just doesn't apply and we don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Or shall I say we don't, I won't say we don't do it. We don't get an opportunity to do it
Hmm.
because they
I
got us
agree.
doing, I'm sorry.
I agree.
Yeah. They got us doing a million other things. And I don't know about you guys. We definitely get what are you doing that for?
Exactly.
Yeah. Here, let me ask you this along those lines. So when you all have discipline issues, how do they handle them at your school?
Okay, so before I get to that, so because I'm also in SPED too, and so I'm an
Okay.
inclusion teacher, and I also do resource. So when I pull the kids out, and when I'm in the classroom during inclusion, I also with my SPED kids, I have to adhere to their bill, and then I'm monitoring
Yeah,
their
see,
goals,
that's, but go
and
ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah, go
yeah.
ahead.
Right. So
Yeah.
then, they might have, their personal, their social, emotional goals, and I still have
Yeah.
to monitor those, especially, because all of the kids that with autism have a bill. They're
Right.
required to have one, based on their disability. So, to answer your question, that's something that our school can work on as well. Sometimes it's not always consistent, with the behavioral issues. It depends on the day. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes the
Hmm.
administrator doesn't have time to deal with the situation. And then sometimes it, goes to the counselor. And then if the counselor isn't available, then if the mental health technician, she comes on campus twice a week. And if she's available, and then also I found out last week, if she doesn't have a consent form signed from the parent, then she really, can't talk to the child. So, it's kind of, kind of an iffy situation. And I know I mentioned, and with my writing, that there are some kids that should be, because I read in the article, one of the articles, kids who are emotionally disturbed or should be referred sometimes are not referred. They're
Hmm.
underrepresented. So, there are some concerns there as far as the trainings. I think some more trainings can be done as far as behavioral instances to help with kids. We do have some lags there, and also too with the RTA process. Sometimes I think it's too long because some districts say you progress monitor for 6 weeks or you progress monitor for 8 weeks. There's this one kid at our school, three different sets of teachers have had issues with him with his behavior, and they have documented, and they have the information, but the referral has not been placed. And the administrator has to do that. So, you wonder, okay, how long is this child going to be, how long do you progress monitor this kid? Because like I said, this is the what, 2 years, 2 years and a half, and he still has not been referred. So there are some loopholes and some gaps.
Yeah. So the one of the questions ask, what parts of RTI for behavior do you see in your school? Now, again, in the school, um, what I see in our school, for the most part, is tier one. We have
Okay.
like with our announcements in the morning, they kind of go over the motto, the school motto of what a Roosevelt student should look like. But outside of that, in terms of an infrastructure that would roll over to say tier two, we don't have that in place at our school. So,
Right.
um,
And we could also use some more interventions and strategies in the tier two and tier three model as well. Because we have a lot of the tier one foundation covered, but as far as that intensive tier two and tier three, to consistently work with kids who have, severe behaviors, we do
mhm.
need to have more of that information available.
Yes, now and in my classroom, I think we do a good job. I have two really good TAs, and so in terms of like the morning routine that we have, um, I got some one-on-ones in the room. I actually have three, but that's another story for another day. And they recently just staffed me with two people, but for the first part of the year. There were times I was in there by myself. Another story for another day. But I'm saying with the addition of the two TAs, you know, in terms of behavior contracts, we haven't had to use one in 2 years since I've been there. And like I said before, I got a really well. Me and Smith worked together last year, and then Torres joined us this year, and they we do a really good job. So. Um, and even with us having two runners in the room, the intensive individualized support is there for them even. Um, but like I said, I mean, that part of it for me in my classroom,
Right.
I mean, it's going great. And I don't, people are surprised when they come in there and you would think you got two runners in there, you got a guy in a wheelchair and 12 other students with a multitude of disabilities. And they expect chaos, but it was nice and calm. So
Oh, that's good.
yeah, so I'm happy about that at least. What can you or your school do better to implement RTI for behavior? Again, embrace it philosophically, and not just have it be a slogan for the morning announcements, because that's about all it is now for us at least.
Right. Actually practice it,
Yeah.
put it in practice, school wide. Right.
Yes. Yeah. Three, how culturally competent are your school's rules, expectations, and discipline protocols? Um, I hate to say it this way, but it's pretty superficial.
Mm,
So it's pretty superficial at this point. And you know, for the most part, our 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 people are sort of focused on, moving the letter grade up.
right.
That it's like hitting bullet points is the chief concern versus the micro part of, okay, yeah, you say this is what you're doing, but are you really doing that? If that makes sense.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Now, at our school, the kids are exposed to different cultural aspects, different cultural literacy pieces. The environment is inclusive. But I think as a whole, we need to be trained more as staff to actually to recognize our own biases and notice how that can put into play with kids and their behaviors and how they kind of mirror our behaviors at times and reflect the relationships we have with students. And then at some point, the words, like I said, can be glossy. And like you said, with tier one, but actually focusing more on the tier two and tier three strategies that some of the kids need.
Yeah. Then the last question asked, it says, what information from the reading surprised you, reinforced what you knew, challenged your thinking, or piqued your interest? Uh, like I said, at least from for our work, is just having an opportunity to implement the program. And that's really a challenge because, like I said, a lot of stuff that we do because I don't. Again, maybe you can help me figure this out. I don't know how you're gonna make a sped room a generic room, but
Because I mean,
they
they're two different animals.
right and like at our place, they literally say that the sped room should be dressed down off of the generic room. First of all, the room don't even have the same makeup.
Right. And look at the levels,
Right.
the intellectual levels, they're different.
See, just like when I was saying about my class, I haven't even gone into. I got four students right now, and this is God honest truth, who learned their names at the start of the school year.
Mm,
They like literally didn't know their own names
right.
when they
So,
when
I
they
mean,
came.
developmentally, they're just not there.
Yeah,
Right.
and then for obviously the teacher thing in me is like, how did you get to ninth grade not knowing your own name?
Mm,
Somebody had to handle you before you got here.
right.
But that's another story for another day. So, um, but like I say, to wrap it up, it looks like we covered the questions, and what I'll do is I'm gonna send you the link from the recording that we
Okay.
just
Now
had.
I did want to mention one thing
Mhm.
like that surprised me with the reading. It says when behaviors are attention seeking, we need to ignore them continuously every
Mhm.
single time. That really surprised me because I didn't look at it that way.
Really?
Because sometimes you know how you do your planned ignoring, but they said if it's attention seeking. Mm, you need to ignore it every time.
Well,
And
yeah.
another thing that surprised me was, school-wide behavior supports have been around for years, but there's research is saying that you still need further research on it to obtain the long-term effects and the positive outcomes. So, because, I realize that it's been around for a while, but, they're saying there are still some gaps in the research and, they still want to see what the long-term effects are on
Yeah.
kids.
Well, the interesting thing, at least in my case or our case, where we are, we're always on our toes for patterns.
Hmm.
So again, just to say a teaching secret, as soon as we detect that that's the objective, like I said, the people I work with, we've been pretty good at it, making an adjustment. And so that wasn't new for us because since I, like I say, for 2 years, that's what we've done all
Hmm.
the time. Yeah, it's just like one of the guys I got in class. Whenever he's not allowed to have his way to seek attention, he'll say, "You're going to jail.
Oh, wow.
I'm calling 911." And
Wow.
he'll say, "I'm calling the police."
Wow.
So he's just an example of, like I say, hey, man, we're ignoring that stuff. Yeah, yeah. Because you can't have your way, be it he goes to the bathroom on the schedule of about every 25 to 30 minutes.
Hmm.
So like 10 minutes would have passed and he would have just went and then he said, "Can I go to the bathroom?" Obviously, Mr. Smith jump in, "Hey man, what you talking about, go to the bathroom?" And he's like, "You're going to jail." He'll go through his little
Uh,
checklist of things that he says, and we laugh and like, okay, man, whatever.
wow.
So, all right, well, it's been great.
Okay.
So we're gonna put this thing together. Then I'm gonna send you a copy of the link.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. All right.
Have a
Have a
great
good
night.
evening.
You
You too.
too.
Bye bye.
Bye.